Hey, what's up, everybody? So coming here this morning with the what's next for Jose Ramirez and Viktor Postol. I'm doing both, as I said last week, when it's two top 10 fighters facing each other. I would like to do both of them because as long as they're both remaining in the top 10, which these two are, after their fight, I would like to talk about both of them instead of doing, individually their what's next. Let's discuss the fight firsthand between Ramirez and Postol. It was for the unified 140-pound titles, the WBC and WBO titles. Viktor Postol, the former champ, was the challenger coming in and the mandatory number one contender. And Ramirez was undefeated and coming in, as the favorite. So, many people, myself included, were predicting Ramirez to score a late stoppage, or a convincing decision. And it didn't go that way. I did call that the fight could be close. It was very close. Ramirez walked out with a very close 12-round majority decision, and a good fight. It was kind of a back and forth fight. Ramirez, he put pressure on, and I think that's what ended up winning him the fight. I liken it to the fight with Jose Zepeda that he had last year in 2019 in February. Where he put the pressure on and all that kind of stuff, and he had to do that late to kind of pull it out. But it was more his effective aggressiveness that kind of won the fight, even though Zepeda was doing a great job counterpunching. That's what Postol was doing. He was doing a great job counterpunching, and it led to a majority decision. A very close fight, though. Like I said, it could have gone either way. I don't have a problem with the majority decision. In favor of Ramirez. I think that's fair. 7 rounds to 5 is about what the fight was, in my opinion, or 6-6 in that area. You could call it Postol's way too, 7-5, but it was that kind of fight. It was that close, and Ramirez holds on to the unified title. So let's go individually now. We'll start with Viktor Postol. Came out on the losing end. So what's next for the 36-year-old former world champion? Well, it's kind of sad because Postol is basically going to be in the position that he was coming into this and what he's been since he lost to Terrence Crawford. He's a tall, very good boxer, counterpuncher, can take a punch, and has enough power to keep you honest to where, but he doesn't have a big name, so he's very much along those lines of the high risk, low reward type fighters. He's still very much in the mix. Actually, the loss, I put him up to number 4 instead of keeping him at number 5 at 140. But the guy has struggled to get major fights. He's been inactive a lot since the loss to Crawford in 2016. His most major fight in between that and Ramirez was Josh Taylor in Scotland. He had to go to Taylor's backyard where Taylor took what should have been scored a lot closer decision, but ended up being scored a blowout. But, he's struggled to try to get name fighters in the ring. Depending on who's interested, he might go back to that. But what I would like to see is for him, because he barely lost to Ramirez, the WBC shouldn't drop him too far. 1 or 2 spots max. I think he probably should drop to number 3. Regis Prograis number 2 right now. Why not, after Prograis done with his opponent in October, why not throw these guys together in an eliminator or get him into some kind of eliminator in another division? He's very deserving. He's proven that against one of the best fighters in the division. I would really hope to see him back in the ring sometime soon. Don't take a long time off. Postol, that's his other thing, taking long periods off in between fights. He needs to not do that this time. He needs to try to get back. He's proven he went against the odds. He proved that he still belongs in this division in the top 5, and he's very competitive, and he can pretty much, he's competed his ass off against the top 2 guys in the division, so he needs to keep pushing. He needs to try to get one of the other guys, in the ring, some kind of eliminator. Go after a top 10 opponent. Pablo Cesar Cano's ranked high in the WBC. As I said, Regis Prograis. Maybe Jose Zepeda after Zepeda and Ivan Barianchek, if Cepeda comes out on the winning end. Or why not fight Barianchik if Barianchik beats Cepeda? Those are all options that I think Postol should explore, if or try to get into some kind of eliminator to move himself back into title contention almost immediately. That's what I believe should be next, and I think he's really going to push for a WBC eliminator or something along those lines, since he fought so well against Ramirez in this one. And then the last thing about Postol, just his performance overall was very good. I mean, it was better than I thought it was going to be. I thought he was going to fade. He didn't. He got caught a couple times, but nothing to where, he was on the verge of getting knocked out. He did get hit hard a couple times, stunned, but he stayed in the fight. His counterpunching was great. His jab was on point. I think a little bit more aggressiveness, especially when you're the challenger. He should have pushed a little bit harder, but again, he fought a better fight than I thought, and good, strong performance, and hopefully we hear something about him soon. Now let's look at Jose Ramirez, the undefeated champion, walked out, still the reigning champ. First off, his performance in the fight, he disappointed a lot, but I think it's more along the lines that he disappointed, he disappointed heading into a huge possible undisputed title showdown with Josh Taylor. I know people wanted more, but people, have to respect Viktor Postol and how good he is. I called it a couple weeks ago. I said it was very similar to the Dillian Whyte, Alexander Povetkin fight, where not enough love was getting shown to the challenger. Viktor Postol was top 5 coming in. He confirmed that with this performance, but people should have known how good Viktor Postol is, already. They should have known that, but most people didn't, and it's amazing to me that the critics were calling Ramirez such a one-sided winner. I didn't think it was going to be that convincing. Yeah, I thought he was going to stop him late in the fight, but I also thought it could be close. It could go to do a decision, but I thought it would be close before the stoppage. I thought it would be very competitive before the stoppage, so, that's the thing is that a lot of people were writing Postol off, so one, there needs to be more respect shown towards Postol. Now, Ramirez, his faults and his style is Ramirez gets into this grind of not being able to cut off the ring, and that's what he failed to do against Postol, in my opinion. When he did do it, he landed better shots. He landed combinations. He looked good, but he looked like he was more chasing, and I'm not saying Postol was running. Postol was counterpunching and moving, but when you have a mover, you need to cut the ring off, and I didn't see Ramirez doing that a lot, and the way I look at Ramirez is, I think the book is still out on how good this guy really is, he can brawl with guys that stand in front of him, like Maurice Hooker, and go toe-to-toe with them. He can brawl with those guys, and he can beat them. He can out-muscle those guys and stuff, and, push them harder because of his style, and he can definitely take a punch. But he also got stunned against Postol coming in. The two boxers that he's fought the past year and a half, in Cepeda and Postol, those guys counterpunched him very well. They boxed him very well. So, that leads me to some concerns for the possible fight with Josh Taylor that's being discussed, but also a future fight with Terrence Crawford, because that's what he says he wants. Crawford ate up Postol by a one-sided decision. Postol was in the fight, but he got put down a couple times and lost a one-sided decision a couple years ago, or back in 2016. That was 4 years ago when Postol was younger. Ramirez struggled with Postol now. Does anybody right now really think that Ramirez is going to move up to 147, even if he comes out the undisputed champ, and really compete against Terrence Crawford? I mean, wow, I don't see it. I didn't think he could do it before this, but this was going to be the test to see, hey, how good is Jose Ramirez? And not to say he's not good. He's got a lot of good qualities to him. But I really think his excuse of, I'm used to fighting with a crowd is bullshit. Not to say there's nothing to it at all, but I don't think that's why this fight was close. I think Postol was just that good, and Ramirez is maybe not as good as everybody thinks he is. He's a good fighter, but, styles make fights, and he has that brawling style, and it's very to a boxer and a counterpuncher, it's predictable. And if you're good enough, you can figure it out, and if you can handle his pressure, you can beat him. And so now what's next for Jose Ramirez? Well, here obviously Josh Taylor is the desired fight. That's the fight people want to see for the undisputed title. But here's the monkey wrench that everybody keeps overlooking and nobody's mentioning when they discuss those two fighting for the undisputed title. First off, Josh Taylor is fighting at the end of this month, September. He should beat his number one contender and push forward to, something else next. But everybody's just automatically assuming it's going to be Ramirez and Taylor. Well, here's the monkey wrench. Jack Catterall, the undefeated number one ranked contender in the WBO, has been waiting for a title shot for over a year. The WBC and the WBO worked together, allowing Postol to get the first mandatory title shot, and now Jack Catterall is due his mandatory title shot. Now, the reason why that's a monkey wrench into the Taylor-Ramirez equation is because Ramirez can go on and fight Taylor, but he's most likely going to have to give up the WBO title, and then it won't be for the undisputed world title, all four belts, if him and Taylor fight. So, that's the big question right now is what does he do next? Does he go after Catterall, get him out of the way, or does he move forward with a unification bout with Taylor, but not an undisputed title fight with Taylor? So that's the loom. I think that's the big question right there is how do they work that out? Will Taylor want to take somebody else in between a undisputed title fight that could happen by middle of next year, which would be huge? You build it, let Ramirez go beat Catterall, then you get Ramirez and Taylor. Let Taylor fight somebody else, early in the year, January, February, even if it's somebody like Regis Prograis in a rematch. Let him build himself towards this, where this is a big fight in the American market, and that's what I think they should do. Then by the middle of next year, maybe you both guys get what they want and they have fans, so those are the two main options. Those are the two opponents. I think it's going to be one or the other. It's either going to be Taylor in a title unification, or it's going to be Catterall, defending his unified belts prior to a Taylor unification. So we'll see what happens. But that's the what's next on Jose Ramirez and Viktor Postol. Hope you guys enjoyed it. True Boxing, you've been hit with the truth.